the draft because they already knew, okay, we can protect this Kestrel, so we can go for this. We can go for this complete glass cannon build on her with no defense, and it works out. So,
so super powerful, but only in the right scenario.
I'm very surprised SK didn't first pick Grace.
I mean, they've gone for kind of the standard start to the draft that we've been seeing a lot in Europe, and Grace will be the counter pick. So the exact same start to the draft, except mirrored this time around.
Yeah, so now they're going to reverse the draft. So are they going to ban Koshka, Blackfeather, or Baptiste here? Depending on what Reku can play better, they're probably going to ban away the hero that he can't play as well. So if it's Baptiste and they want to take Koshka, that could work as well. So let's see what Dynasty is going to do here with their draft.
I'd like to see where they are going to choose to go with this one. Still a lot very much up in the air. Samuel going to be taken away. Ricky Meza not happy with his performance in the first game and not wanting to pick it up again.
This now leaves SK with a difficult choice because Blackfeather, Idris, Koshka, Baptiste, all four of those are amazing. With the Grace, they can only ban away one of them, and they're going to have to let the other three through. So for SK, it's a matter of which one they don't want to deal with the most. I would very much like to see it be the Baptiste, but they're going to take away the Idris. Maybe feeling like Dynasty doesn't play the Baptiste?
Yeah, we just talked about this.
Yeah,
Grace Baptiste getting through.
Although Baptiste is a good pick here, Blackfeather's up. They're going to pick a CP Blackfeather. He's actually good into Baptiste because he can out of the Ordained. He can also poke Baptiste because of his range. Once he's level 8, he has a range 9 with his on point. So they're probably going to go with a CP Blackfeather here and potentially Kestrel again if they want. So Kestrel or Vox would be good in this situation.
So the Blackfeather will be the lock-in coming on through for the likes of Tyrus, or at least I would expect it to be Tyrus going on with the CP Blackfeather, as you mentioned. Tyrus definitely has been a standout player for SK Gaming. Fully expect him to do wonders on that Blackfeather, but we'll see how they're going to finish out this composition. And I mean, on the... Oh, they're actually going to take the Kestrel. I was about to say, on the side of Dynasty, you can easily finish this composition with a Kestrel. We just saw that success, but SK not going to allow that through.
Yeah, it's a pretty smart pickup here because Kestrel is one of the few carries that you will go with that absolutely no defense build with this composition. You know, most of the other carries can't really get away with it as well as Kestrel, who has a little bit of survivability and, you know, utility within her kit. But there are still plenty of options for the side of Dynasty. Maybe going for something like a Glaive. The Lane Glaive could be really strong with this composition.
Yeah, Lane Glaive or Vox would make the most sense here. PT Lamb has a phenomenal Lane Glaive, and if he can get onto Kestrel, get a nice afterburn with the Ordain, with the Grace, coming in there to CC, that would be a great combination. So they're going to go with the Lane Glaive, and I really like this draft from Dynasty. So,
and quite an aggressive draft from Dynasty as well. They really kind of want to like smash into these team fights and make an impact immediately. With a Glaive and a Grace, you're going to be diving onto this backline, and you've got to be a little bit nervous for the Kestrel in that scenario, right? Because you're going to be the target. That has to be played perfectly in these scenarios.
Yeah, and the Blackfeather is good into the Baptiste and Grace because he has a lot of ways to ignore CC. I'm channeling...
You're copying me.
Doing my Munchables cosplay, apparently. But it's going to be very, very difficult for that Kestrel to survive anything in these fights. Even with the healing from Lyra, just there's so much burst and so much control on the side of Dynasty that I have to go with this draft.
Okay, so on the side of SK then, how did they play around this draft? Outside of just the Kestrel trying to survive, like what is the role of the other two members to try and protect the Kestrel?
yeah, well, they need to use the Lyra Borg at the right time. The Borg can actually stop an afterburn, so if Glaive is coming within range and they think he's going to engage, they can actually put the Borg up and stop the afterburn from happening. But that's more for predictions skill set there. And on top of that, Kestrel needs to active camo immediately when Glaive comes in. So like if Glaive lands the afterburn first before she active camo, then she's in trouble because it's going to displace her. If she active camos and he misses the afterburn, then they can potentially win this game here.
All right, we'll see if they're going to be able to put it off. Definitely sounds like a lot of execution, but it's time to go into the game once again. Hashtag Vainglory is how you can get in touch with us on Twitter and let us know how you're feeling about these matches. But it's time to jump onto the Halcyon Fold and pass it over to our casters one more time.
And we're talking about the draft a little bit in that little break there, AJ, and I mentioned to you I really like this Glaive pick from PG Lamb because the Kestrel was the target consistently in the previous game of Dynasty to blow up, but with the fact that there was a Batiste and a Grace there to kind of stop the dive, it made things very difficult. Now you've taken those picks away, you have this Glaive to knock back the Kestrel, and if she does get knocked back, she's getting ordained. There's no escape.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting, although we have a bit of skirmish here. PT Lamb doing some good damage on the Cavalifar. But, you know, actually, are they going to be able to maybe go for a Treant here?
Okay, this is going to be a fight over Treant. Cavalifar gets it, so he's going to be feeling very happy about that, because not only does he get all the energy back from the Glimmer shots he threw, but he also gets health back, so this is actually not so successful. PT Lamb's going to be forced to go back. I wonder how hard Cavalifar is going to push this, or if he will just freeze it and
they
try
should
and
take
push.
Elder for sure here. Yeah,
so?
I feel like this is a good opportunity for SK to take Elder. If, for some reason, Dynasty had chosen not to actually back and fully heal, would have been a decent opportunity to maybe even go for an invade. But SK do, I believe, they're about to get that. Yep, nice job there. Mowgli is back here again, but I don't see them killing Tyrus, not with that Treant buff.
Well, the Ordain goes down. Tyrus is just going to stay inside of it. Mowgli's in a lot of trouble as he's just starting to take so much poke. Can Mowgli escape? Here comes PG Lamb. Nice afterburn gets him away, but Riku Meza is now going to be the target of the harass, and his Glimmer Shot's in on point. It's looking like first blood. It is. Cavalifar's going to find it. Very nice stuff from SK. A very big error coming out of Dynasty early.
When are teams going to learn? Fighting over the Treant's real risky. And, you know, we actually saw this exact thing yesterday where we had Blackfeather Lyra. Especially if they get the Treant heal, you literally cannot fight that. It's just not going to happen. So nice by SK to make the pick there. And originally, although we do have another fight developing, maybe.
Yeah,
Ordain.
it's going to be Tyra's just standing his ground. They're going to go for this Treant here. Mowgli gets rooted,
get it.
but it is going to be Rikomeza getting it. This could actually be a kill, this time going over to Dynasty. It's all about who gets that healing from the Treant, and with Tyra's picking it up, then I just don't see him escaping. Gets the movement speed, Rikomeza will pop the Ordain down, and that will be Tyra's going out. Can they get more is the question. Oh, they take away that Treant from Cavalifar trying to steal it away. They're going to go for Raph here, and I don't think he escapes. Knock up, and that's going to be Raph going down. A double kill comes out for Dynasty, really turning this one on its head. Cavalifar has to be very careful here, but he does have Tyrus coming in, and this could just be another overstay. This is going to be the seesaw starting. The Ordained will hold them up, but Mowgli will lose his life. Can PG Lamb get a return? He can! Tyrus now are going to be under fire. It's the consistent fighting. EU, man, really wanting to get their early game fights on right now, and it's not going to end yet, JJ. It's practically just a battle royale at this point, but it looks like Dynasty are finally going to give up the harass.
I almost went AFK there for a bit. You know, you're doing the play-by-play. I figured I'd just come back after the game was over because these fights just keep happening. Dalsy, I had a point I was going to make literally in the intro that I have not been able to get to yet. Whatever, doesn't matter. SK, they're on the Elder Treant again. I like the fact that they're picking this up on the, you know, the spawn pretty much here. Able to keep in a good spot. Cavalifar does get taken very low in the lane. The Glaive doing Glaive things, able to dive buddy with that Grace very effectively too. Okay, right. I can make this point and it flows naturally.
Go for it.
No, it's way later than I wanted to make it. All right. So what I was going to say is, you said last game, SK. This is a team with a really scary A-side draft. Tyrus, let me make this point. Let me make it.
He's not going to relay. Tyrus going down. AJ having an aneurysm as it happens.
Having a conniption. Come on, I'm done. I'm done. All right, look, SK, they got a great A-side draft. You made that point. But you're forgetting, or maybe you didn't forget, you just didn't say it, that Dynasty had a great B-side draft yesterday. That I didn't think was a great draft, but it was a great draft, right? So, in actual fact, they've done something kind of similar here, where they have the Grace and someone who can dive with her and a lot of damage. It's not dissimilar to their Koshka comp, except maybe in, I guess when it spikes a little bit. And how consistently they're able to go in together. So Dynasty, they've been able to keep good pressure on this game, and the constant fighting is working for them. And I actually spoke to Mowgli on Twitter through DMs yesterday after that game, which we were talking about. And I said, you know, okay, explain this to me a little bit, because I feel like there's good enough kite ability on the enemy team, it's not going to work. He was like, we just didn't do a good enough job early game to apply pressure. Well, this game, very different story. As you can tell by my level of irateness.
And I want to talk about farm just a little bit, because SK, they did something clever at the beginning of the game, which is kind of hard to talk about. Kavalafa froze the lane very close to his turret to try and prevent PT Lamb from getting any CS. Now, what ended up happening was Dynasty forced a fight that forced Kavalafa out of the lane, and then PT Lamb just got to farm all of this farm that Kavalafa was trying to deny him. And then because Kavalafa was forced to deal with the jungle invades that Dynasty was putting out, Dynasty completely reversed the farm counts. It would have been a really big farm deficit for PT Lamb if Kavalafa was allowed to do what he wanted to do with the freeze, but instead Dynasty, by making moves across the map and forcing map movements from Kavalafa, have turned this around. Oh god! That was a lot of damage, and that's going to be Kavalafa, his second death, considering that this glaive is probably going to be the end of a Kestrel for the entire game.
Yeah, and in the early turret pickup easily here for Dynasty, Riku even just tanking it up because they know they've got the damage for it. Last game, we were talking about the fact that, you know, the Lyra wasn't necessarily going to be a great pick for Dynasty because they needed more bursty healing to interact with how quickly they were going to get taken down by SK. Well, this game, it's even more to that extent. Like this Lyra, how do you make a fight work for yourself? How do you heal through a glaive and a Grace jumping on you and Baptiste hitting you for ridiculous burst damage with a bad mojo, right? Like it's ridiculous. It's very hard for Lyra to be effective here.
Yeah, you're going to struggle completely because Lyra wants to be able to heal in segments unless we see Raph just scale HP to try and really up the heals that come out, then it's going to be difficult. Mowgli, he's setting up here. They're looking for another engage, but it's going to be shut down by SK. SK are starting to realize that they have to move around the jungle as a 3 because of this early aggression Dynasty have been able to output. A 2,000 gold lead, and they're pushing this wave in. It's going to open up the opportunity to go for a gold mine for Dynasty if they do enough job, or at least threaten a gold mine, which could force another fight. And SK, I don't think are ready for that.
I think Dynasty can do whatever they want right now, Dalcy. If they want to go for the gold mine, sure, you know, why not? But we just saw Poison Chip and Infusion picked up for PT Lamb. I think they want kills. Could be wrong, but that certainly seems like a strong indicator that they want to actually go for a more explosive play than just something like taking away a gold miner. SK, they're really on the back foot. They got to play together. They got to make sure Lyra is there to throw down the heal immediately on whoever gets engaged on. People need reflex blocks on SK too, right? Like you need to be able to deal with Glaive's repositioning. That's a really big one. They don't even have a single reflex block on their team yet, so they can't miss position at all.
Raph is going to spot this out. He might just lose his life in the process. Look at the damage that comes out. That's the Ordained trapping him up, and Raph goes down. No fountain used, and Kavalafa now, he won't be able to escape. This is 2 kills, looking like 3. It's an ace for Dynasty, and that's what I was talking about. They want to bait SK into areas where they will fight. Not only do they get their cake, AJ, but as much as I hate this analogy, they get to eat it too.
GG next. Let's move on. I honestly don't see SK coming back here. They're really going to need to make a big play, or Dynasty is going to need to overextend somehow. The problem is, it's hard to overextend where no dive is too far. Right? Like, they can just go for it. They got Grace Heal.
They turn around now and they look for the fight. This is what Dynasty need to do, but instead Rikomez is going to be targeted. This is perhaps a little bit too late. Rikomez is going to go down. What can PT Lamb do is the question. We can take out Tyrus for one. Will they go further? No, they're going to just go and take the backs instead. Who needs kills when you can just deny gold from your opponents is what Dynasty stay here. And if SK step out of line, then they lose their lives anyway.
I don't understand why Dynasty didn't commit to that fight quicker. I think the only reason Rikomeza died is they had not decided they were going to fight that straight away. He was not actually getting many basic attacks in. He was kind of trying to walk back, and then Grace committed to the heal, and they realized they were actually going to be going for the fight. It was a little uncoordinated from Dynasty. So let's put it this way. SK does have an avenue back into this game. It's fights like that. But, you know, we've only seen one of those. I think Dynasty will tighten up after that has finished up and be able to do quite well here. It's around 9 minutes into this game. There's 9 kills on Dynasty. They're really pushing the tempo, but they need to keep doing that for sure.
They cannot really let the pressure go here. It was kind of the criticism we had off air, AJ, of Dynasty was their lack of decisiveness to just turn around and fight. Well, I think that's something that's going to be huge for this composition. Crystal Miner, Sentry getting involved here. Dynasty will want to try and take it, but they don't want to necessarily fight for it. at this point, unless someone mispositions and PTLM can land an afterburn. They're going to go in for it. There it is. It's Kestrel singled out, but PTLM will not find the kill. Instead, turns onto Tyras, picks up the Crystal Sentry, and Mowgli going to look to chase even further. Dynasty, they're just in position to finish this one up nicely as Mowgli does get stunned up, but here comes the rest of the gang, and this turret's going to be a very hard objective to hold on to.
Feels like Rikumeza is not really doing as much damage as you'd expect him to be at this point. Going for the early clockwork is kind of interesting. I'm not sure I totally agree. It's something which, in a later game,
Look at the shielding.
Effective. Shielding?
Like, why would you build Pierce at this point? Like, Broken Myth would be your other item. Why would you build Pierce when there's only one shielding item on the enemy team?
Yeah, I mean, very good point. But something like a Frostburn, even picked up by Rikumeza, I think could have been very effective. It really would have been able to let PT Lamb stick to the targets. It would have let Rikumeza kite the Black Feather a little bit better. Going for the clockwork schemes, I don't know. I feel like it's incorrect because it's very focused on like, okay, if we're gonna have a longer fight, I get more rotations off, or if we're gonna try and poke, I can be a little bit more effective there. And these fights they just end quick, right? Like Dynasty has a Glaive and a Grace to follow up. They're not trying to fight a long fight. If they're fighting a long fight, that's when Blackfeather sustains through it. That's when Lyra is effective. That's when Kvalifar gets another active camo off. Like, just commit to burst is, I think, the game plan here. Unless Dynasty thinks they can't push for win quickly enough.
So the theory behind Clockwork on Batiste is that you want to get as many bad mojos off during his passive open window. So once you hit 4 auto attacks, you get your passive unlocked, and then the bad mojos, the damage on that is amplified. So if you can throw out more bad mojos during that period of time, then the burst damage is there. So I assume Rikumeza is just not wanting to stray off the normal path as far as builds are concerned.
That's exactly it, though, right? Like I totally appreciate Clockwork being the norm, and it makes sense in most instances. But in this game, they do need to push the tempo and end more quickly than a normal Batiste game. Like Batiste is great late game, but he's also really great early and mid game. He's just great all over right now. And if you're pairing him with the Glaive, like especially this weapon power one, who later on is just going to die very quickly to Kestrel, you do need to have the ability to kill people fast. Right now, though, things have slowed down a little bit. Let's take a step back and look at things overall. Dynasty, they are continuing to farm very effectively. They're taking some of the back camps, and the Sentry has been eliminated already at 13 minutes. But in terms of the actual pressure and kills, not going quite as fast.
Ooh,
I like that flare. That's nice by Mowgli. He's baiting a little bit. He's trying to make something happen.
Look at the positioning of SK. Everyone is pushed up so far. That Scout Trap hasn't noticed them. They're going straight on to Tyrus here, looking for the... Oh, Snare's going to trap him. They're going fourth. They're looking for Kvalifar next, and they're going to dive forward, take Tyrus, and Kvalifar's going to go down, it seems, to PT Lamb. An ace for Dynasty. And things may have slowed down, AJ, but that just baited SK into a false sense of security.
Really nice use of the flare there, just to make the side of SK think, all right, they're probably not that close. There are quick respawns at this stage in the game, though, so committing for a win, this could be a mistake if they're not careful. They've got to divide attention between the turrets, try and get them both down. That's going to be them falling.
And they fight to finish the game. It looks like this Vein Crystal's going down. PT Lamb loses his life. Rikumeza needs to land the damage. Has he got it? No, he doesn't. Mowgli, last man left standing. He's going to go for it. He's a tanky old Grace, and the Grace is not tanky enough. SK, 33 HP. The meme that is SK and Vein Crystals. But this time it's them, the ones who are surviving on the inch that is that health bar.
Man, I hope Dynasty don't end up hitting themselves for that, right? Because that could be the turning point. We're getting a gold mine now in SK. They got shut down gold all over the shop. Yeah, they're still at a pretty big deficit, but someone like Blackfeather gets more per gold spent than a lot of heroes. They do have some options for going for a backdoor. Something like a Glaive, especially a weapon power Glaive, can perhaps sneak his way down the bottom side of the map after burn over. But, now they've got item spikes. Kvalifar's got a Tyrant's Monocle. I don't blame him for trying, though. I mean, when it's that close, it's really worth giving it a shot. Now that we're getting towards the later stages of the game, I think that certain other elements of these compositions come into play. I think especially this Blackfeather, right? Like, if SK can get good vision down, And to be honest, it should be easy, right? Because the vision is going to be around the base. At this point, that's where they're fighting. If they can get good vision down and find some poke onto Dynasty, they have windows here to make fights happen.
Look at this. PG Lamb's getting ready. They're going on to Raph. That's a portal, an entry into the base if PG Lamb wants to follow it and save his afterburn. It's not going to go for it just yet. They're trying to spot out PT Lamb, but they didn't know he's waiting on the other side of the wall, and Raph surely going to spot him out now. There it is, afterburn over there, going straight on in. Fearsome Shade catches a couple, but PT Lamb's going to lose his life very quickly. They need the Fountain to save him, but I think they've done it this time. Yeah, they have. Rikameza will be able to finish the job. PT Lamb, the distraction necessary. And like you mentioned, I don't mind Dynasty going for a try there, AJ. It shows that these European teams are becoming more confident in their ability to execute games quicker.
Yeah, that was a really solid comp coming out of Dynasty. They showed a similar B-side draft to what they had yesterday. Now they're going back to A side. You know, they got